guys, welcome to the Hickson Diaries. Today we're going to talk about things that British people tolerate that Americans would never accept. So I've worked in customer service in America and I've also worked in customer service here in the UK. And I have to admit that customer service here in the UK comparatively is not up to snuff. I'm just going to say that. Not that the customer service here is bad or terrible in any way, but it's definitely something that the American culture has just taken to an excellence level. Working customer service here in the UK, I am often told that I probably could take it down a notch. It's just what I'm used to and it's natural for me and it just comes out that way. But I actually have had people say that to me, or that I'm like being overly fake in some way. Here in the UK, the customer service it's not bad in any way, but you can tell it's obligatory. Whereas in the US, the customer is always right in America. That's just the way it is. They overextend. And I think it has to do more with the wage situation, where you rely on tips in America for your wages as opposed to here, who actually get paid at actual wage. But overall, I have to side with the US on this one. I do think the customer service is better out of the US than here in the UK. This is definitely something that Americans, I think, are not used to. I think this might be a regional thing for America, actually, because I bet you that there are some people that are closer to the Canadian border that are much more tolerant of cold weather than someone like me who's from New Jersey and only has 4 to 5 months of really cold weather. Also, there's places like Chicago where the wind chill is like ridiculous in the winter and it's freezing cold. And then you have places like Florida where it really doesn't get that cold at all. But I think overall the fact that Americans probably would be more apt to just turn on the heat rather than tolerate the cold like they do here in the UK. It is very unusual for people to turn on the heat. I know people that will bundle like 2 or 3 sweaters or jumpers, as y'all call them here, with slipper socks and blankets over them and all of that before they'll actually flip the heat on. Yeah, I have to admit, I am a typical American on this one, where my first thing is to opt to the heat. Though I am trying to be more frugal, I'm trying to adopt the British version, but I don't think I'm quite there yet. Yeah, Americans are just used to I don't want to say they don't kick up a fuss, but they're used to being charged like 3 or 4 times as much as what it's actually advertised. I mean, just look at our sales tax situation, whereas you go into a store and you try to buy an item and it says it's 99 cents, but then you go to check out and it's actually $1.07 because of the state sales tax on it. So we're kind of just used to things being upcharged on us on a regular basis. It's part of our society and it's part of the culture, unfortunately. I don't think that's going to change anytime soon because we're such a spending culture. So I think that extra charges like extra fees on your credit card for something, or paying extra fees when you're buying concert tickets or something like that, totally normal in America. I don't even think about it. I expect it, actually, but it is better here in the UK. It is a lot more straightforward what things cost. I do like that much better. I do think that the fact that British people don't tolerate that as much is a better way to live, and it's a better society. Obviously, your smaller refrigerators, for the most part, overall, because you've less space and you have to live in less square footage than Americans are used to living in. So overall, just living in a smaller space is something that Americans would find hard to adapt to. For me, the small fridge is something I'm still adapting. When I go into this grocery store, I still think I have a big freezer to freeze a lot of stuff in, and I'll bulk buy, and then I come home and I'm like, geez, I have nowhere to put it. And the refrigerator's all full up and I'm trying to cook 2 or 3 things at once because I forgot and it's defrosted and I don't want it to go bad and waste the money. It's something I am definitely struggling with as I'm living here in the UK. And Americans, they have refrigerators the size of closets, so I can see a lot of people having an issue with coming to the UK and trying to figure out how to store all their food, as I do on a regular basis. So Americans wouldn't tolerate this because 90% of the restaurants that I've ever frequented, you usually get water with ice as soon as you sit down, and they'll refill it throughout your meal. Americans will just expect it, and I have to admit that I have expected it. Here in the UK, if you ask for tap water for the table, they'll give it to you in the restaurant. They won't charge you for it. You have to say tap water though. They won't just automatically give it to you. So Americans, I think, would struggle with tolerating not having tap water as you do here in the UK, just randomly given to you. The other thing that I want to talk about with this is coffee refills. Americans would never, ever accept a coffee in a restaurant or a diner or something like that you have to pay for a refill. Unless you're going to like a chain, Starbucks or something like that, you would never pay for a refill on your coffee when you're sitting there having dessert. Here in the UK, you always pay for refills on your coffee. It's very, very rare that you get free refills on your coffee. When they order tea, some places do give you like a pot of water and then a couple tea bags. So you usually get a couple cups out of that if you order that. But if you're just ordering a coffee like I usually do, yeah, you have to pay for that again. That's something that Brits will tolerate that Americans never would. The next one is something I still struggle with now, and I struggle with almost daily, to be honest with you. So Americans, we pretty much have free Wi-Fi everywhere. And even if you don't, your internet mobile connection is strong enough in many places, as far as I can, maybe in the Midwest rural areas it might be that bad, but I know where I grew up on the East Coast, everywhere I went, I got a signal. I knew exactly what I could do, even if there was not free Wi-Fi, which was rare. However, here in the UK, it is extremely common for there not to be free Wi-Fi, and also for the internet connection to not be that strong. I actually know somebody that lives in a small village, and they actually have trouble getting their own Wi-Fi to work on the second floor of their house. And I even have to deal with this on a regular basis since I take the train to and from work. While the train is going through the countryside in between the towns, my internet will drop on the train. So I literally have to sit there and wait a few minutes till the train gets to a spot where it can pick up another signal. So I am living proof that Americans cannot deal with unreliable Wi-Fi and cell phone signals here in the UK. I have to admit that this is not one that I actually care about because I've never had a nice big bathroom. But again, because we have so much space in America, many people have big luxurious bathrooms and would not tolerate a very tiny small bathroom. Americans are used to having big kitchens, big bathrooms. Whenever you're selling real estate or buying real estate in the US, or you see any of those like fixer-upper shows that are US based, all about bathrooms and kitchens. That's what sells homes. You'd have a big tub. A lot of people will have a 4-piece, so the tub will be separate than the shower, and they'll have 2 sinks, and they'll have the toilet. Some people have bidets, makeup counter in between the sinks or on the side of the sinks. Just kind of understood in the US that they have big bathrooms in most homes. UK, not so much. People in the UK understand it. It's just a place to get clean. I was just having a discussion on my live stream the other day. We were just talking about how you call them bathrooms and toilets. And the reason you call them toilets is because they're usually water closets, where they're just a toilet and maybe a sink. It's sometimes just a toilet. And then you have your sink and your bathtub and your shower in a completely separate room. We don't have anything like that in America. It's usually one big room. One big room. See? Very American. What can I say? That's the way it is in the US. Those are the things that I think that British people would tolerate that Americans would have a lot of trouble with. I even admitted I still have a lot of trouble with some of them. Let me know if you guys can think of anything put them in the comments below. Consider subscribing if you can, and possibly become a member and hit that join button if you can. That would help us raise more money for the Royal British Legion. And we'll see you in the next one. Stay safe, guys. Bye.